The planet Kareth burned beneath a crimson sky. Once it had been a jewel of green valleys and silver oceans, but now firestorms rolled across its broken lands. The war between humanity and the Thalkira Empire had reached its final and bloodiest stage. Captain Marcus Hale crouched behind a shattered wall, his armor dented and scorched. His squad's breathing filled his helmet's calm. Static whispered between bursts of gunfire. The alien energy weapons painted the air with bright blue streaks, slicing through the smoke. "Command, this is Hale," he said, reloading his rifle. "We're close to the core hive. We can end this war today." Static answered, then a tired voice replied, "Copy that, Captain. Objective is the Queen. Eliminate her and the Thalkira will fall apart." Marcus hesitated for half a heartbeat. The word eliminate felt heavier than usual. He'd been fighting for 5 long years and the war had taken too much. Cities turned to ash, soldiers buried without names. If ending it meant killing one alien leader, then maybe it was worth it. "Understood," he finally said. His squad advanced through the ruins of the alien city. Strange spires twisted into the blood-red clouds above, their surfaces pulsing faintly with organic light. The Thalkira didn't build with metal or stone. Their cities were living things grown from bioengineered coral and resin. It gave everything a feeling of being alive even as it died. Explosions shook the ground. A wave of heat threw Marcus forward and debris rained down. One of his soldiers shouted through the comms, "Captain, we've got movement." Figures leapt from the smoke, insectoid warriors with 4 arms moving fast and silent. Their eyes glowed faintly violet. The humans opened fire, their rifles cutting through the swarm, but the aliens kept coming. It was chaos, noise, dust, and light. Marcus fought like a man running out of tomorrows. He ducked, fired, rolled, and kept his people alive. But one by one, his squad was forced to fall back until only he remained at the edge of the hive's core. Ahead stood a massive gate, its surface shimmering with blue light. The symbols carved into it pulsed like a heartbeat. Marcus hesitated. He didn't know what he'd find beyond, but the mission was clear. He pressed his palm against the door and it opened with a deep organic sound, like something exhaling. Inside was silence. The chamber glowed faintly. Massive pillars arched overhead, each one breathing a soft mist. At the center, surrounded by alien machines and living cables, stood a tall, elegant figure, the Thalkira Queen. Her name, though Marcus didn't know it yet, was Vylra. She was unlike the warriors he'd seen. Her body shimmered with smooth, chitin-like armor of gold and silver hues. Her eyes, large, reflective, and full of strange intelligence, met his across the room. She was wounded. A beam of light had collapsed part of the chamber, trapping her leg beneath a massive shard of biometal. Marcus raised his weapon, finger tightening on the trigger, but she didn't move. She didn't reach for a weapon or call for guards. She simply stared at him, her chest rising and falling slowly, the glow in her eyes dimming. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was soft and layered with harmonics that sounded almost human. "Do it, human," she said quietly. "End it," Marcus froze. Something in her tone wasn't anger, it was resignation. He stepped closer, gun still raised. "You're the reason for all this. Millions dead. You gave the orders," her head tilted slightly. "And your kind gave yours. Do you believe this war is mine alone?" Marcus didn't answer. He had seen too much death to argue philosophy now. But as he looked around the ruined chamber, the strange organic walls bleeding faint light, the smell of ozone and decay, something in him shifted. This wasn't victory. It was just another graveyard. A deep rumble echoed overhead. The ceiling cracked. Another explosion rocked the hive. The chamber began to collapse. Marcus turned on instinct, diving forward. A chunk of debris slammed down where the Queen lay pinned. Without thinking, he threw his weapon aside and rushed toward her. He tried to lift the shard, but it was too heavy. The Queen looked at him in disbelief. "What are you doing?" "Saving your life," Marcus grunted. "Why?" She hissed. "Your kind desires my death." "Maybe," he said, straining, "but not like this. Not buried alive." With a final shout, he forced the shard up and dragged her free. The weight crashed down again, shaking the floor. Dust and light filled the air as he pulled her toward the exit. Outside, chaos reigned. Human dropships and alien flyers clashed in the crimson sky. The hive was burning, collapsing into the ground. Marcus looked around, searching for shelter. He half carried, half guided her through the smoke. The Queen stumbled but didn't resist. For the first time, Marcus realized she was afraid, not as an enemy leader, but as a living being who didn't want to die. A shell exploded nearby, throwing them to the ground. Marcus shielded her with his body, feeling heat scorch across his armor. His comm crackled with command chatter. "Captain Hale! The Queen's position. Are you still on target?" He looked at the trembling figure beside him, the enemy Queen gasping for air, her golden eyes full of confusion and pain. He pressed his comm. "Negative," he said quietly. "Target is down, but she's coming with me." There was silence on the other end. Then the voice said, "Repeat, Captain." Marcus ignored it. He lifted the Queen again. "You can walk?" "I can," she whispered. They moved through the ruins, one human and one alien Queen surrounded by war's last breaths. Drones flew overhead, scanning for survivors. The ground quaked. The hive was dying. When they reached the ridge, Marcus saw his dropship burning. His entire squad was gone. He was the last one left. He turned to the Queen. "There's an extraction beacon a few clicks north. If we reach it, maybe." Before he could finish, she stopped him with a look. "You saved me. Knowing your kind will call you a traitor." He gave a tired half-smile. "Maybe, but I'd rather live with their anger than your blood on my hands." She studied him for a long moment. The strange human who had chosen mercy over victory. Something flickered in her gaze, something she hadn't felt in years of ruling through fear and war. "Then," she said softly, "perhaps not all humans are monsters." "Funny," Marcus replied, glancing at the burning sky. "I was about to say the same thing about you." They reached the beacon an hour later. The war still raged above them, but for that single night, two enemies sat side by side beneath a crimson sky, silent, exhausted, and unsure what tomorrow would bring. As the evacuation lights descended, Marcus looked back at the ruined hive. Somewhere inside, the echoes of their battle still burned, but he knew something had changed. Not just in the war, but in both of them. For the first time since the war began, Captain Marcus Hale didn't feel like a soldier. He felt human. And for the first time in her long, proud life, Queen Valera began to wonder if humanity's strange kindness might be the key to saving her people from themselves. The neutral station Erebos 9 floated silently above a dead moon, far from the burning battlefields of Kyreth. It was built long ago by traders and peacekeepers, a place where enemies could meet without weapons, where every species could speak without fear. Now, it hosted two of the most unlikely guests in the galaxy, Captain Marcus Hale, the human soldier who disobeyed direct orders, and Queen Valera, the ruler of the Thalkira, the very enemy he had once sworn to destroy. Marcus stared out through the glass wall of the medical bay. Beyond it, the void shimmered with starlight. His reflection looked tired, his short brown hair streaked with ash, his armor gone, replaced by a simple gray uniform. He looked more like a prisoner than a hero. Behind him, the door opened with a soft hiss. Dr. Lian Chen entered holding a datapad. Her expression was calm, but her eyes told a different story, curiosity mixed with disbelief. "She's recovering faster than expected," Chen said. "The Thalkira biology is extraordinary. The nanomed serum we used accelerated her regeneration." Marcus nodded silently. "Good, she'll need her strength." Chen gave him a wary look. "Marcus, you do realize what this means, right? Command isn't happy. They say you aided the enemy, the most dangerous one of them all." Marcus let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, I've heard the whispers." "Whispers?" Chen sighed. "They're already calling you a traitor back on Earth. And the Thalkira, their council declared you a corrupter of their queen. You've made enemies on both sides." Marcus shrugged. "Then I guess peace makes everyone angry." Chen hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Maybe that's why you're still a soldier." She handed him the datapad. "She asked for you personally." Marcus froze. "The Queen?" Chen nodded. "She refuses to speak to anyone else." When he entered Valera's recovery chamber, the air felt heavier, not with hostility, but with something ancient and commanding. The walls glowed softly, casting blue light over the tall figure sitting upright on the bed. Her injuries were nearly gone, replaced by new silvery plates of exoskeleton that gleamed under the light. Her eyes, like molten gold, followed him as he entered. "Human," she said, her voice echoing slightly, layered like music. "You returned." Marcus stopped a few steps away. It's Captain Hale, Marcus, and yeah, I'm not much for leaving people behind. She tilted her head slightly. Even enemies? He gave a small smile. Especially enemies. We already have enough ghosts. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The Queen studied him closely. She had expected cruelty or mockery, not this strange mix of patience and defiance. You disobeyed your leaders to save me, she said softly. Do you understand what that means in your culture? Oh, I understand, Marcus said. Court-martial, prison may be worse. Then why? He met her eyes. Because you were trapped. You were dying, and war doesn't justify everything. Someone has to stop the cycle, even if it's for a minute. Vylra lowered her gaze. You're kind. You fight with madness, yet also with heart. It is confusing. Marcus chuckled lightly. Yeah, it confuses us too. Over the next few days, Vylra's recovery continued. She remained isolated under guard, but Marcus was allowed to visit her twice a day. Each time they spoke, first cautiously, then with growing curiosity. She told him about her people, the Thalkira hive mind, connected through bioluminescent signals and shared emotion. To humans, it sounded impossible. To her, individuality was the strange part. In your species, she said once, each mind stands alone. Every thought belongs to one person. It must be lonely. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Sometimes it is. But it also means we can choose who we want to be, what we want to believe in. Choice, she repeated quietly, as if tasting the word. A dangerous freedom, he smiled. The best kind. Through those conversations, they began to understand each other not as enemies, but as two survivors of the same endless war. Outside their small world, however, politics moved like a storm. Both human and Thalkira governments were furious. On the human side, Admiral Strathmore demanded Marcus's immediate return for trial. He disobeyed a direct kill order, the Admiral said in a broadcast. He endangered Earth's security. Meanwhile, on GalacticPrime, the High Council accused the Queen of betrayal. To them, being saved by a human was shameful, a mark of weakness that dishonored their warrior race. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Thalkira considered removing their queen. Erebos 9 became a pressure point between two empires. Armed patrols surrounded the station, and diplomats shouted across comms, but no one dared to fire. Inside, Vylra felt the weight of her people's anger through the psychic link that still reached her across light years. It was like a cold wind pressing against her mind. One evening, as she stood near the observation window, she spoke softly without turning around. They hate me now. Marcus, standing a few feet behind, said nothing. They call me impure, she continued. They say I have been touched by human weakness. He stepped closer. They're wrong. What you did took strength. You survived. Her golden eyes turned toward him. And you? What will your people call you? He smiled faintly. Probably worse. Something like a laugh, quiet and musical, escaped her lips. Then perhaps we are both exiles now. Days turned into weeks. Peace talks began, but progress was slow. On the 4th week, a new order came from the human command. Vylra would be transferred to a secure facility for further study. Marcus immediately refused. She's not a lab experiment. He shouted at the command officer on the holoscreen. She's their ruler, the reason your ceasefire still holds. Captain, the officer replied coldly, you're not in command anymore. You're lucky we haven't locked you up. Marcus slammed his fist on the table, cutting the connection. He knew then that he had made his choice. He would protect the Queen, no matter the cost. That night, as he walked through the dim corridors of the station, he found Vylra waiting in the garden dome, a place where alien plants grew in blue light. I heard your leaders wish to move me, she said quietly. They do, Marcus admitted, but I won't let them. She looked at him for a long moment. You would fight your own kind for me? I'd fight for what's right, he said. For the first time, her composure broke. She stepped closer, her voice softer now. You speak of right and wrong as if they are simple, but they are not. Not out here. I know, Marcus said, meeting her gaze. That's why someone has to decide anyway. The silence between them was heavy but not cold. The hum of the life support systems filled the air, and the stars beyond seemed to listen. Then Vylra whispered, You remind me of something my people have forgotten. Faith. He raised an eyebrow. Faith, I thought your kind believed only in strength. She nodded slowly. Strength without heart is just cruelty. I used to believe in conquest. Now I wonder if survival without understanding is worth it. Marcus looked at her, truly seeing her. Not as a queen, not as an alien, but as someone lost in the same endless fight. Maybe understanding is how wars really end. For the first time she smiled, a small, unsure expression that still held power. Perhaps you're right, human Marcus, he smiled back. Just Marcus is fine. As the artificial dawn lights brightened, a message blinked on the command screens across Erebos 9. A massive Thalkira fleet was approaching, not for negotiation, but for retrieval. The peace was about to shatter, and as the alarms began to sound, Marcus and Vieira both knew their fragile truce had only been the calm before the storm. The alarms echoed across Erebos 9 like thunder. Red lights flashed through the metallic corridors, and the air filled with the hum of approaching ships. The peace that had barely survived for weeks was now breaking apart. Captain Marcus Hale ran through the hallway, his boots clanging against the floor. Around him, human security teams moved in panic. Every monitor showed the same image, a fleet of Thalkira warships closing in fast. The Queen stood near the large viewport in the command deck, watching the incoming ships. Her golden eyes glowed faintly in the dark. The reflection of the warships shimmered over her face like fire dancing over calm water. They have come for me, she said quietly. My people will not allow a queen to stay among humans. Marcus stopped beside her, breathing hard. We can talk to them. We can show them that this... She turned her gaze toward him, her voice sharp. They do not come for talk, Marcus. They come to erase shame, to take me back, or end me. He clenched his fists. Then we'll protect you. You cannot, she said softly. They will destroy the station if they must. Thousands will die because of me. Marcus looked at her, torn between duty and something deeper. Then we have to get you out before they arrive. Escape from Erebos 9 in the chaos of evacuation, Marcus led Vieira through the maintenance levels of the station. Smoke rose from damaged corridors as the station shook from warning shots fired by the alien fleet outside. Dr. Chen's voice came through the comms. Marcus, you can't escape and the docking gates are sealed. Not for long, Marcus replied. Keep the power on in Sector 4. We're taking the emergency shuttle. He and Vieira reached the small hangar bay. The emergency shuttle was old, a human-made transport barely large enough for two. It wasn't meant for battle, but it could move fast. Marcus punched the control panel and the engines hummed weakly. As they lifted off, the station began to glow red from the Thalkira fleet's energy signatures. Moments later, the stars blurred. Marcus had activated the jump drive just in time. Erebos 9 vanished behind them. The quiet refuge hours later, the shuttle drifted above a silent, barren moon called Leth 9. The surface below was gray and lifeless, the perfect hiding place. They landed in the shadow of a tall ridge where the ship's sensors showed no sign of pursuit. Vieira stepped out first, her shimmering exoskeleton faintly glowing in the thin light. The silence of the moon stretched around them. No wind, no sound, only endless dust. This world is dead, she said softly. Maybe that's what we need right now. Marcus replied, stepping beside her. Dead planets don't attract fleets. For the next few days, they worked together to repair the shuttle and build a shelter from the wreckage. Marcus collected what little resources the shuttle had, rations, medkits, and an energy cell. Vieira used her strange Thalkira bioluminescence to power the systems and create light. Even though the air was cold and thin, the shelter became a small sanctuary, a quiet place between two wars. At first, they spoke little. Marcus spent most of his time checking the skies for incoming signals. Vieira watched him with silent curiosity. She had ruled an empire, commanded millions, and yet here she was, sitting beside a single human who had risked everything for her. Finally, on the fourth night, she broke the silence. You should have left me, she said. Marcus looked up from the console he was repairing. Yeah, I get that a lot. I mean it. You lost your command. Your people may never forgive you. He smiled faintly. Maybe they don't have to. I did what I thought was right. Her golden eyes softened. You humans, you act from your hearts before your minds. It is dangerous, but beautiful. Marcus looked at her, trying to find words. And you rule with logic, but you still came with me. Maybe you're learning a bit of that danger too. She didn't answer, but for the first time since he had met her, the queen looked almost peaceful. The strange illness in the 7th day, Viola began to weaken. Her skin, the shining armor-like plates rund, grew pale and faintly translucent. Her energy flickered like dying starlight. Marcus rushed to her side. You're burning up. What's happening? I do not know, she whispered, her voice trembling. Something within me changes. Marcus grabbed the medical scanner from the shuttle and began running tests. The readings were strange. Nothing matched human biology, but he noticed one thing: rapid cellular growth, deep inside her chest cavity. He frowned. Your cells are dividing fast. It's like, she interrupted softly. Life forming. He looked at her in shock. That can't be. The serum, the nanomed we used, it was meant to heal, not create something. Valra's breathing slowed. When you saved me, your blood touched mine. The nanomed in your system merged with my genetic code. Our species mixed. Marcus sat back, stunned. The realization hit him like a wave. You mean, her voice was faint but clear. I carry new life within me, Marcus Hale. A child that is not just Thalkira, and not just human. The words hung in the air like an echo that would never fade. The confession, for a long time, neither of them spoke. Only the hum of the shelter's energy cell filled the silence. Marcus paced, trying to make sense of it. This is impossible, he said at last. Our species aren't compatible. It should not, Valera agreed. Yet it has. She turned toward him, her voice quiet but strong. This life inside me is not a mistake, Marcus. It is something new, something our two worlds have never seen. Marcus rubbed his temples. If either side finds out they will fear it, she finished. They will hunt us both. He looked at her, the weight of her words sinking in. Then we protect it, whatever it is. Valra's eyes glowed brighter. You would do that? Even after everything? He nodded. I didn't save you just to watch more innocent life get destroyed. This child, your child, deserves a chance. She stared at him in silence. Her gaze softened, almost shining with emotion. Then you are more than soldier, Marcus Hale. You are something my people could never understand. You protect what you do not even know. He smiled sadly. That's just what humans do. Hope in the dark, the days passed slowly on Leth 9. The Queen's health began to stabilize. The scan showed that the new life within her was growing. Not like a normal Thalkira offspring, but something balanced between both worlds. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. But inside their small shelter, something miraculous had begun. Valra often sat quietly watching the sky. Marcus worked tirelessly, repairing the long-range comms, knowing they would soon need to move again. Every night they shared stories of her ancient empire and of Earth's lost beauty. One night, as the windless silence of the moon surrounded them, she spoke softly. In my culture, a child is not born of love. It is chosen by the hive, a duty, not a bond, but this feels different. Marcus smiled, his eyes tired but gentle. Maybe that's what makes it special. She looked at him, her golden eyes glowing faintly. And you, Marcus Hale, do you feel fear? He laughed quietly, always. But sometimes courage is just doing what you know is right, even when you're scared. The Queen's gaze lingered on him. Then you have taught me courage. The new threat, their peace did not last. One morning the scanner beeped, an incoming signal. Marcus checked the screen. His face went pale. The Thalkira had found them. A single warship had entered the system, scanning for energy signatures. It wouldn't be long before they were discovered. Belra rose from her seat, her armor gleaming again, brighter now with new strength. We cannot run forever, she said. If they capture me, they will take the child. They will use it as a weapon. Marcus tightened his grip on his rifle. Then they'll have to go through me first. She looked at him, truly looked, and something unspoken passed between them. Perhaps, for the first time, she understood what humanity's strange courage meant. As the warship's lights appeared in the sky above Leth 9, Vylra whispered, "This child, our child, will be the bridge or the fire. But either way, it will change everything." Marcus looked at the sky, his jaw set. "Then we make sure it changes it for the better." The barren moonscape of Leth 9 stretched endlessly, cold and gray under the distant glow of stars. Yet inside the small shelter a fire burned, not from warmth but from purpose. Marcus and Valra knew that the enemy fleet would not rest. Every passing hour increased the danger to both the Queen and the life growing inside her. Marcus scanned the skies again. The human-made sensors of the shuttle detected multiple signatures, not just the single Thalkira warship but a fleet. They were closing fast. Valra's golden eyes followed the readings. She did not panic, but her body hummed with energy. They are not here to talk. This is an invasion. Marcus clenched his fists. Then we fight, or we run. Or both, she nodded. Yes, both. The first attack hours later, the quiet of Leth 9 was shattered. The first Thalkira scout ship descended from orbit. Its sleek form glimmered in the weak light of the barren moon. It fired warning blasts toward the shelter, shaking the thin walls. Marcus activated the shuttle's defensive systems. Energy shields rose, protecting the fragile refuge from direct hits. He fired a few plasma bursts, aiming to force the scout back. Valra, surprisingly nimble despite her injuries and pregnancy, moved to assist. Using her bioluminescent energy, she created a protective aura around the shelter, strengthening the shields and redirecting the attack's energy back toward the enemy. The scout's hull shuddered under the force, sparks flying. It retreated temporarily, but Marcus knew it was only the first wave. They will return, he said grimly. Valra's expression remained calm. Let them. We will be ready. The arrival of the fleet. By the next morning, the fleet had surrounded Leth 9. Dozens of Thalkira warships hovered in orbit, their energy pulses scanning for life. Every bridge of the fleet was filled with soldiers demanding the return of their queen. Marcus and Valra watched from the shelter's observation window. Their small refuge was insignificant against the vast alien fleet, yet neither flinched. Human, Valra said softly. I am their queen. They will not stop until I am returned or dead. This child, they will try to claim it. Marcus turned to her. Then we make sure they can't. For the first time, the queen took action not as a ruler commanding an empire, but as a mother protecting her child. Her energy flared outward, waves of bioluminescent light radiating through the shelter. The sensors detected something unusual. The energy signature was far larger and more complex than any Thalkira had seen before. Marcus's jaw tightened. What are you doing? Preparing, she said. They will try to force me back. We cannot fight them alone, but this can give us time. The first skirmish, the first warship descended, sending a squad of ground troops to the moon's surface. Marcus and Valra were ready. They moved through the ruins of the old mining outposts, setting traps and using the terrain to their advantage. Marcus's human instincts and combat experience complemented Valra's alien speed and reflexes. She struck with precision, her limbs moving like lightning, disarming enemies without causing unnecessary harm. Marcus fired to disable, not kill, his rounds striking shields and systems rather than soldiers when possible. Despite being outnumbered, they held the line. The Thalkira soldiers faltered, confused by the coordination between human ingenuity and Thalkira energy manipulation. Marcus smiled briefly. We make a good team, you know. Valra allowed herself a faint smile. Perhaps I have underestimated your kind. The civil rebellion, while the battle raged, news from the Thalkira fleet reached the Queen's mind. Not all of her species agreed with the war. Some generals whispered of fear, not honor, questioning the wisdom of pursuing her while a child grew inside her. Valra felt it, a split in her people's will. She turned to Marcus. My army is divided. Some seek war, some seek peace. This child could unite them. Marcus looked at her, intrigued. Unite them how? This new life, she said, touching her chest where the child rested, represents a bond they have never seen. Not strength alone, not conquest, but something neither side can deny. Hope. Hope. Marcus repeated the word in his mind. In all his years of fighting, he had never seen a clearer reason to survive. The counterattack by the next day, the Thalkira launched a full assault. Bombers streaked across the moon's surface, sending tremors through the rocky landscape. Marcus and Valra held their ground, but the forces were overwhelming. Valra extended her energy field outward, creating a dome over the shelter. It shimmered brightly, deflecting bombardment and reducing the destruction of their fragile home. Marcus fired strategically, disabling enemy units and guiding them into traps. But the battle was taking its toll. Dust and debris filled the air, and Marcus's armor cracked under repeated impacts. Valra's body glowed faintly with strain. Every movement was heavier, slower, but she continued, her determination unwavering. "Marcus," she said between breaths, "if we fall, the child must survive." He gritted his teeth. "We will not fall. Not while I breathe." The turning point as the fighting reached a critical point, some of the Thalkira soldiers began to hesitate. Reports of the Queen's strange energy field and Marcus's clever trap spread across the fleet. Whispers of her child, a being unlike any other, began to circulate. The generals who had been pushing for war began to argue with one another. Some feared the child, some saw it as a symbol too powerful to ignore. Valra sensed their hesitation. She spoke to Marcus quietly, her voice almost reverent. "The child, it is more than a life. It is a message, a future they cannot destroy." Marcus nodded, understanding. The fight was not just about survival. It was about showing the Thalkira that life, courage, and unity were stronger than hatred. With renewed energy, Marcus and Valra launched a coordinated strike. They disabled key enemy machines using intelligence, speed, and alien energy in perfect harmony. The Thalkira fleet began to retreat, leaving only a few watchers in orbit. The battle was over, for now. A quiet aftermath. The shelter was damaged, but intact. Marcus leaned against the wall, wiping soot from his face. Valra collapsed into a chair, exhausted but smiling faintly. You saved us," she said quietly. "Not just me. The child." Marcus shook his head. "We saved each other. That's what humans do." Valra's golden eyes softened. "And what my people could not understand. Until now, perhaps, hope is stronger than fear." They sat in silence, watching the stars outside. The war was not over. The Thalkira would return and humans would face challenges they had never imagined. But for the first time, the impossible seemed possible. A human and an alien standing together, protecting something greater than themselves. Valra reached out, placing her hand near Marcus's. "This child, it is our responsibility, not just to survive but to ensure its future." Marcus nodded, his jaw firm with determination. "Then we'll make sure it has one." And for the first time in months, on a quiet moon far from war, the two warriors allowed themselves a moment of peace. The storm would return, but together they were ready. The barren surface of Lethnine was quiet once more. The dust had settled, leaving the gray rocks and silent plains as if nothing had ever happened. Yet inside the small shelter, life thrummed quietly, a life that would change the galaxy forever. Queen Valra sat in a glowing chamber Marcus had helped construct from salvaged shuttle parts. The energy fields hummed faintly, supporting her and the life growing inside her. She was calm now, though her body still bore the marks of battle. The hybrid child within her had grown steadily, a symbol of something new, impossible, and extraordinary. Marcus paced nearby, keeping watch over the skies. Sensors had detected distant fleets, but none dared approach. Both the Thalkira and human sides were watching, unsure of what this child meant for the future. The revelation to the galaxy. Valra spoke softly, her voice carrying across the empty chamber. "Marcus, it is time. They must see. They must understand." Marcus nodded. "Are you ready?" She glanced at him, her golden eyes glowing faintly. "I am, if you are." He placed a hand on the console, initiating a long-range transmission. The signal reached both human and Thalkira networks, broadcast across the stars. Every military outpost, every ship in orbit, every listening station could see and hear her. "This message," Valra began, her voice steady and commanding, "is from the Queen of the Thalkira. My name is Valra, and I speak not as a ruler but as a mother. I carry life that is neither human nor Thalkira alone, but both. It is proof that our species, long at war, can create something greater than destruction. I ask you to witness this and to reconsider what hatred has done to us." Marcus watched her, awestruck. He had fought many battles, seen countless deaths, and endured endless fear, but nothing had felt as powerful as this moment. A declaration not of war, but of hope. The arrival of the observers. Within hours, representatives from both sides arrived in orbit. Human admirals and scientists hovered in distant observation platforms, their faces tense with anticipation. The Thalkira generals watched from their sleek command ships, their eyes wide with disbelief and confusion. Valeria floated gracefully into the main chamber, supported by her bioluminescent energy. Marcus followed, standing firmly beside her. Together they presented a calm but undeniable truth. The new life within her was real. Scans were projected across the galaxy, showing the child's hybrid development. Energy patterns indicated traits from both species, the resilience of the Thalkira and the adaptability of humans. It was something entirely unique, a bridge between two civilizations. A ripple of shock moved through the observers. Some whispered fearfully, others stared in awe. The warships in orbit seemed to pause, their captains unsure of what to do next. The message of peace Valeria continued. This child will inherit both worlds. If my people continue in hatred, it will be hunted and destroyed. If humanity continues in fear, it will be lost. But if both sides choose understanding, it will become the future. Marcus stepped forward, addressing the human observers. We fought for years, but the fight doesn't have to end in blood. This is proof that our courage, our compassion, and our choices can build something stronger than war. Not through weapons, but through unity. A silence followed. It was not tense. It was a pause heavy with thought. The galaxy had not seen such a statement in centuries. Two species, mortal enemies, were now united in the hope for a new life. The first step towards unity, the Thalkira generals were the first to speak. Their voices carried authority, but with hesitation. This is not natural, one said. The Queen's child, hybrid. It challenges all we believe. Valeria turned to him, her voice firm. Then let it challenge you. Let it show you that strength alone does not define us. Love, courage, and understanding do. This life represents both hope and responsibility, Marcus added, and it proves something else. Humanity is not just survival. We are capable of compassion, even to those who were once our enemies. Another Thalkira general stepped forward. If the child survives, if it thrives, will it bind our species together? Valeria nodded. That is the choice. The future is not set by hatred, but by what we decide now. The miracle of birth weeks later, in the quiet sanctuary on Leth 9, the moment came. The hybrid child was born, not with cries of anger or fear, but with a quiet, glowing pulse of life. The energy radiating from the child was gentle yet powerful, illuminating the small chamber in waves of soft gold and silver. Marcus held Valeria's hand as she smiled, exhausted but radiant. "It is perfect," she whispered. The child opened eyes that shimmered with the colors of both worlds, warm amber flecked with violet, a living symbol of unity. Marcus knelt beside her, awe in his eyes. "We did it together." Valeria touched his shoulder. "Yes, together. And now our responsibility begins." The reaction across the galaxy. The broadcasts from Leth 9 spread rapidly. Across human colonies, scientists, soldiers, and civilians watched in amazement. Across the Thalkira Empire, generals, soldiers, and civilians saw something they had never expected. Proof that enemies could create life together. For the first time in centuries, the calls for war faltered. Some humans argued that the hybrid child was a miracle to protect, while some Thalkira whispered that perhaps the Queen's decision was wise. The fleets that had once prepared to attack now hesitated, unsure of what action could match such a revelation. A new era begins. Marcus stood beside Valeria in the observation chamber, the hybrid child resting between them in a glowing cradle of energy. Valeria spoke softly, yet her words carried across their sanctuary. This child will not only survive, it will teach us. It will show our species that life, courage, and choice are stronger than hatred and fear. Marcus smiled. And the galaxy will follow if we show them how. For the first time, the stars above Leth 9 seemed different, brighter, filled with promise. The galaxy was not yet at peace, but a seed had been planted. A new life, a child of two worlds, would grow to unite what centuries of war had tried to tear apart. The hybrid child stretched, small fingers glowing faintly. Marcus placed his hand over theirs, feeling warmth that went beyond species, beyond wars, beyond fear. Valeria placed her hand on his shoulder. "The child is our hope, Marcus. The child is the bridge." Marcus looked out at the stars and nodded. "Then we protect it, whatever it takes." And as the stars shimmered above, humanity and the Thalkira paused to witness something extraordinary. Not a victory, not a battle, but the beginning of a new era. For in the Child of Two Worlds, the galaxy had discovered hope, courage, and the undeniable strength of life shared across boundaries.